Hi, welcome back to the Tranquili-Tease podcast. I'm your host, Marina, and today we're going to be discussing the age-old riddle. How do you change your mind and become more successful? By the end of this episode, you will become an adaptation expert. Why? Because I'll be sharing the 5 scientifically tested and proven tips that I've been using to shatter every single glass ceiling I have faced that has come my way along both of my professional career paths. The first thing that you need to know is that change must happen in an altered state. To understand this point further, we must dive deep into what is a ritual. We aren't talking pathological, colloquial rituals either. A ritual, anthropologically speaking, is a hyper-conscious practice that plucks the participants out of their everyday timelines, separates them, transitions them over, and then reintegrates them back into society. But instead of putting them back where they came from, the participants end up in their new place in life. Roman Jakobson tried to define poetry as language that calls attention to itself, in the sense that we often respond to good poetry by saying, "Yeah, I like the way you said that." A ritual is a lot like good poetry. It's behavior that it calls attention to itself. Now, in order to make that arrow special, we have to leave our everyday schedule. We block the day off the calendar and call it the special arrow day. Hooray! By doing this, we have now left the average timeline that we were living in. We are now in limbo. We are in an altered state of being. Drugs are not required. However, I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. But I digress. Here in this altered state, you have no social roles. You're not an employee. You're not a mother, a sister, a sibling, a partner. You are simply a human being. You took the day off from all of that. Or maybe it was just a couple hours. You gave yourself all the time you had, and that's great. Nonetheless, you've got no social roles. You are just a human. Now imagine, you are outside of your normal timeline. If your timeline is a building, right now you, in this ritual, are existing outside, looking in through a window. Now, normally the lens in which you view the world very much has to do with how people are relating to you specifically. However, when you are in this ritualized state, you have a tendency to be able to look at other human beings for who they are, rather than through the lenses of our differences. Now, that moment of contact with other human beings during the ritual sheds these lenses, whether those human beings are also a part of the ritual and also have arrows themselves. An anti-structure begins to develop in your brain. Everything you used to know suddenly shifts. And how does that happen? Well, during this ritual, we use the arrow in an ecstatic way. And what I mean by this is both mentally and physically, we become exhausted. We do everything we can to make this experience felt from head to toe and beyond. During the ritual, we consistently repeat what change we are going through over and over and over again until it is physically and mentally beaten us to the ground. Only after that do we reintegrate back into society. Weddings and the general ceremony of marriage is a fantastic example of this. Before the ritual, you are still technically single, or at least that's the way that we file our taxes. Then the day arrives, and you're removed from your normal timeline. You're off of work. Your social roles to anyone else in the world do not matter. You also have a series of metaphorical arrows that follow you throughout that entire special event. You've got wedding rings. You've got a beautiful dress or onesie. I'm not going to judge what you're getting married in. It's 2020. You've also got the wedding photo album and any other tradition that your family may have passed along to you. And finally, when the ritual is over at the end of the night, you reintegrate back into society, but not as the single woman you were before. Now, you're a spouse. You have officially been added onto a new team. Congratulations! Good for you! You have now bonded with your new teammate, and you have some tokens from your special ritual to help remind you of the changes and the vows that you said that you would uphold. Now, the last part I want to mention about rituals is the fact that your symbol, whether it's an arrow or a wedding ring, doesn't have to already be a container of meaning. So what do I mean by this? Well, sometimes symbols are just tools to change meaning. If you're crafting your own brand new ritual that has never been done before, and you're not using any passed along wisdom from your personal cultural background, you can use anything as a symbol. You are the one that assigns meaning to it. Maybe you pick up a cool rock, or maybe you get a tattoo. It just needs to be a more permanent object that doesn't fade with time. So, for example, you can't just dye your hair because eventually it's going to fall out, it's going to get old, and that is temporary. Change and rituals should last a lifetime. Pre-established rituals that have been passed along from generation to generation may feel more meaningful from the outside perspective because they've been blessed by the generations before and likely after. But that's just not an available reality to everyone, especially here in the United States. Between many of us being extremely disconnected from our family histories and also our highly individualized society, Americans really just don't like being told what to do. And that's okay. You can make it your own, and it'll still impact the brain in the same exact way. Because y'all, this is science. I want to know, have you gone through any sort of ritual in the past year? Don't be shy. I want to hear about it. Please head over to the YouTube comment section and tell us what happened. Now on to our second tip. So the second thing that you need to know is that there are seasons for rest and there are seasons for growth. This can be really hard for us to understand in the era of the hustle. There's nothing more soul-crushing and debilitating than celebrating a really awesome success just to have some jackass come up to you and be like, oh, so what's next? What's your next project? What's your next job? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Do you know what suit you're going to be buried in? Do you have every single shit planned for the rest of your life? Meh. Like, bitch, are you serious? Let me have my moment of glory and get out of here. We feel like we aren't allowed to enjoy the fruits of our own labor, and that's ridiculous. The Heisenberg uncertainty principle states that it is impossible to know simultaneously the exact position and momentum of a particle. That is, the more exactly the position is determined, the less we know about momentum, and vice versa. Basically, you can't have your cake and eat it too. Science is literally telling us to go enjoy our fruit, so savor it. If that sounds like something that's easier said than done, I feel you there, but I found that the cure to this lies within essentialism. Now, essentialism states that there are 4 main survival elements in today's society: space, sleep, sabbaticals, and play. An essentialist creates space to be able to explore. You can build thinking time in, which allows you to truly be able to focus. When you make space, you no longer feel like you have to escape. You also can't help others when you can't help yourself. Sleep deprivation blurs the line between what is trivial and what is essential. 1 more hour of sleep can give you multiple hours of a more productive day. There's a little saying going on around in the entrepreneurial community, and it's that sleep is the new status symbol of successful entrepreneurs. And I couldn't agree more. Also, what the fuck was I saying about a sabbatical? Aren't those just for rich people? No. You do not have to fly to Spain for 3 months to be on a sabbatical. You can simply just say no to a big thing for a month. Or maybe you saved $5 to $10 every week for a few months and you saved up to be able to hire a maid for that month. And now you've got a month of chore time that you can now sleep, play, or think in. Regardless of the details of how you made this shift, if you want to live a dramatically different life, you need to remember that there's more to life than work. During your sabbatical, you'll also have time for those rituals to reinforce the change that you wish to make. Just throw in the element of play, and you'll realize that play physically improves the cognitive function of your brain. In summary, if you plan out your life just a little bit, you might be able to create more space and find pockets of time that you can learn to protect. You want to protect these pockets as if your life depends on it, because it kind of does. If you find yourself making excuses instead of thinking of creative solutions to create more time and space, you might want to ask yourself if you really want to change, which leads me to my next point. The third thing that you need to know in order to change your mind is that you must find a belief or purpose that's stronger than any opposing forces. Look, you're not going to change if the price is higher than the product. You wouldn't buy a $400 pair of jeans if they looked and felt exactly like the ones that you already owned. You're also probably not going to get out of the sun until you're already too sunburnt and it actually hurts. So this key to change requires that you get focused and clear on what it is that you want and why you want it. Do you feel the intensity of that purpose from your heart? So for example, let's say that I need to change up my evening routine. I need to go to sleep earlier so that I can wake up earlier and have a more productive morning. That fact alone, honestly, is probably not enough to make me change. Why do I want to be more productive? The fact or just characteristic trait of being productive doesn't bring me any additional intrinsic value. The why is absolutely crucial. Real talk, my day job, I am a mathematician, and I work in a lab that does nutritional chemistry testing on the food that we eat. I want to do higher quality work because I want to make sure that the food that we eat doesn't kill us, right? If I slack off on my job and I'm the person in charge of checking everybody else's work and writing the rules in the rule book, who's checking me? So I don't want the blood of dead babies on my hands. Dead babies or go to sleep earlier. That's a whole lot more convincing. Sure, that may have sounded dramatic, but that's also not an exaggerated truth. That is the truth of my life story. The fourth tip that you need to know is that we often overestimate the amount that we can accomplish within a year, but we tend to grossly underestimate the amount of things that we can accomplish in a decade or even a lifetime. This means that we have a tendency to want to sprint instead of respecting the amount of endurance required to make a sustainable change. Our shortened attention spans have us foaming at the mouth for bites of success cookies. Nom, 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 nom. Oh, no, but oh, no, 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 no. Stop your whole life for a second. Think about the people that you look up to the most. Perhaps these are even the people that inspired you to make the change in the first place. Or maybe they're just people who are on a vision board. I don't know. But do you think that they all just woke up yesterday and got to where they are today? And the people who did actually seem to defy the odds and accomplish something very quickly, I can guarantee you that you're overlooking some aspect of their lives because they didn't accomplish it as quickly or as easily as you think that they did. Yes, some people do have advantages that are passed along through family lines and societal structures, but that just means that they outsourced the hard work. That doesn't mean that it didn't exist. Look, you may not have had that option. You may not have been able to outsource the hard work, but that doesn't make you better or worse. All that does is makes you different from them. Therefore, you're not allowed to compare your journey. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Keep focusing on your purpose and your why that is stronger than the opposing forces. This will fuel you and your long game. And the fifth final tip on how to change your mind to become more successful is this. Change starts small. It isn't something we just do in a day. It is something that we are. It's something that we become. We all know that sprinting doesn't work because that's just not going to give us the endurance to embody sustainable long-term change, as we just mentioned in the previous point. After we've done that previously mentioned ritual and we've supercharged our metaphorical arrows, we look upon it and we ask ourselves, what is one tangible thing I can do right now that will put me one step closer to that change? So in other words, what honors your arrow? If you feel your goals are massive, for example, maybe you want to overcome your childhood trauma, or maybe you want to quit smoking cigarettes, there's likely one small thing that you can do every single day that will allow for so much more space in your life than if you were going to try to do it all at once and then just burn out within a week. Like they say in any sort of addiction support group, one day at a time. One day you'll look up, you'll look back, and you'll realize just how far you've come. Because as we've discussed, we tend to overestimate the amount we can accomplish in a year, but we tend to grossly underestimate the amount of things we can accomplish in a decade or a lifetime. When I quit smoking cigarettes about 16 weeks ago, I didn't know that it would last. It was ingrained so deeply in my being and my personality that it was hard to let go of. I only took it one day at a time. Now that I am 4 months clean of any sort of nicotine, I look back, I look at my teeth, I look at my hair, I look at my nails and my skin and my face. Even my eyes seem to shine a little bit brighter. Was I thinking all of those things were going to happen in a day or a week? No, absolutely not. In fact, I didn't even know that I would make it this far. But when I quit, I had a ritual. I created time and space for thought and play. I started sleeping more. And I've got little tokens of things that brought me through this journey that I get to look at and know everything's going to be okay, and it was all worth it. Long story short, here's the formula for changing your mind and becoming more successful. You just need some rituals, a little bit of space, a little bit more sleep, sabbatical from something for some amount of time. Just remember life is seasonal. You need a little bit of play, a little bit of patience, a little bit of focus, and just small little daily shifts. I've got a bonus tip for you. If you're in a moment of panic and you feel stuck and you feel like the world is dreary and nothing's gonna change, I want you to remember these words from my favorite business coach, Marie Forleo. Everything is figureoutable. What we mean is this. Humans have been around for a very long time, and there will be humans after us. Even brain surgeons are humans, though. We've all been trying to figure shit out for thousands of years now. It's kind of what we do best as a species and why we're still around. That being said, you don't want to use change as an excuse to lily pad away from your problems. Just like how moving only changes the scenery, it doesn't change you inherently. But you want to be smart and strategic about the types of change that you choose to make. Foreshadow alert. That's an upcoming topic that we'll be discussing here on the Tranquili-Tease. So take a nice deep breath. And remind yourself, everything is figureoutable. And then go figure it out. You've already got everything you need inside of you to do exactly that. We're nearing the end, my friend, but before you go, please leave me a comment and tell me about a change that you are sizing up in your life. We all feel a little bit less intimidated when we know we're not alone. You're killing it. Good job. If you'd like more details and less theory on this topic, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on the little bell to receive notifications when I post new content, as I've got a brand new weekly video tutorial series called The Educational Enthusiast, where I'll be giving you 3 to 6 minute long how-to guides relating to each topic that I cover here in the more long form and theoretical Tranquili-Tease podcast. You can also subscribe to my newsletter over on my website, www.marinamars.com, and you will receive one weekly email every Wednesday full of inspiration from myself as well as my extremely talented and experienced colleagues from all walks of life. Until then, my loves, XOXO.